cameras on me, let me run it. I'ma take it to the house like legislation. In my spaceship through the ozone, windmill into the rack, final destination.
Hello, everybody. From Koreatown, it is the OZone. Thank you for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Omar Miller, your host. I'm here with my brother from the same mother, a semi-world champion of Major League Baseball.
I'm here.
Terry Miller, also known as the Icons. And when they put the cameras on the Dodgers...
What did you see? You saw the Icon standing there right behind the Astros dugout, giving it up. Was I in the Houston Chronicles? That's all I want to know. Was I in that Chronicles?
You see the Chronicle, Dad. Oh, man, we got a lot to cover this round, folks. Actually, murder happened this weekend. And Terry's throwing a rally cap right now with a rag.
Orange flag.
And, Deontay Wilder avenged that loss pretty quickly. Like the champ said he would do. So he did what them champs do, and he had some interesting words after the fight for Anthony Joshua that seemed very scripted. Which meant that he was prepared to win. We have some more stuff going on in the world of football. More with the controversy, more with the protests, more people speaking out. Got a little controversy between Prime Time and Tony Romo to speak on. Basketball, the Cavs aren't what they normally are, which is very interesting. But let's just start with baseball, because this will be the last we get to speak on it for a little bit, and it is our favorite game, and it is a game so fun. It's played on diamonds, ladies and gentlemen.
Why do we even have to talk about it? Come on.
I don't want to even talk about it. Your 2017 champions of Major League Baseball of the world are the Houston Astros.
Which I called from the beginning of the year.
I mean, from the first day of the season. I'm really impressed. I can't front. And this isn't the kind of thing that you call this isn't the kind of scenario that you call because you call them every year,
no.
And then eventually they have to do it. No, I have to give credit where credit is due, folks. The Icons were serious about that orange. And I think he has stock in Jim Crane's oil company, maybe. I don't know what's going on, but he came in wearing a Dodgers hat. What a jerk.
In memoriam.
Because the Dodgers. All right, let's just talk about it. A very similar scenario I felt like happened to the Dodgers. Last time we were on the mic, Game 6 was about to happen. I thought the Astros were going to win Game 6.
I thought they were going to win Game 6 as well.
And they let down Justin Verlander, to be honest.
They did.
They really let him down. Again, Justin Verlander could have easily been the MVP of this series if they scored more than 2 runs in his 13 innings, 12 or 13 innings. And they didn't. The Dodgers showed a lot of heart, actually, to pull out that Game 3. And I was really impressed. And I have to say, going into Game 7, I was like, wow, the Dodgers actually going to win the World Series? They showed so much heart in 6, they made me believe in 7.
I did not believe. I was not a believer.
I saw that. And for good reason, because what I thought may happen did not happen, which is Dave Roberts took a page out of Dusty Baker's book, and his best pitcher, who happens to be the best pitcher walking for the past 5-6 years, he decided to bring him in relief.
Yeah, why not?
He decided to bring him in relief. And I have LeVar Ball to ask, why he came? Why?
Yeah.
I don't understand why Clayton Kershaw. And it was interesting because at the stadium, you guys might have saw me. I was waving a Dodger flag. They talked me into waving the flag on the dugout. It was
poor kid.
Oh, man. And I would have had it if it wasn't for them mangy Astros and that damn mutt. That damn mutt, George Springer and Alex Bregman.
Like, watch out, Scoob.
Shaggy was on the scene. Yeah, so, we started the game, and what was interesting was they had a very iconic first pitch. It was Sandy Koufax, who's still in great shape, by the way.
He looks great.
I mean,
moves like he might be able to still deal.
He might be able to give you at least 2.
Yeah.
And they had him help out Don Newcomb, who most of the time is in the chair.
Mm-hmm.
And they threw first pitches out to Steve Garvey and maybe Yeager. I'm not sure who was the other.
Jägermeister.
Who was the other legend? I was on the field. I got invited. It was awesome. But what was interesting was they had all these clips that they were playing before the game of Sandy Koufax's heroics in the World Series.
Which are nuts.
Which are stone cold bonkers. Sandy Koufax, 4-time World Series champion, shut down the Minnesota Twins in the series in Game 5, shut them out, won the game 1-0 on a home run from Sweet Lou Johnson. Then came back 2 days later and shut them out again in Game 7. In 72 hours, he pitched more than 16, 17 innings of scoreless baseball and
What was his
won
pitch
the
count?
championship. But who knows? Honestly, his pitch count was low because he carved you up. But the interesting thing is, to me, I was sitting there and I got really excited because I was thinking to myself, oh my goodness, they're about to pull a total whammy and they've announced Yu Darvish as the starter, but they're doing this as foreshadowing to let you know Dave Roberts is actually about to bring out number 22 to start the game, and we are in for a whole different Game 7.
Could have been a different game.
I mean, you saw what happened in relief.
But you know what? The Astros have confidence. They had confidence.
Confidence
that they can beat Kershaw as well, especially after they came back on him.
Twice.
Yeah. So
Twice in one game.
Yeah. So it's
but if it's me, and as a Dodger fan, but if it's
I got to
me,
go with my best.
I always have to go with Clayton Kershaw. I don't believe. Yeah, I don't care how many times he blows the lead. I need to see.
I need to see.
The guy that strikes out 250, 300 guys a year, I need to see.
Yeah.
You need to beat him a lot. And
Darvish came out and stunk the joint up.
And you know what? I have a feeling I want to speak on that because I don't even know if he stunk the joint up, to be honest.
Why not?
Listen to this. By the time I got to the seat, it was already 2-0 basically, and that actually wasn't Darvish's fault.
No.
And this is what I mean is that Darvish came out and in this beautiful humility that the Asian players have, the Japanese players have. He came out afterwards. You saw the thing on TMZ where they called him out and about at the Grove, and he was like, hey, I'm sorry. He apologized to the city in the same way that Tanaka apologized for his elbow being messed up.
And re-opted with the Yankees.
And he didn't apologize about that. He dealt. Push came to shove. Masahiro was ready. So Darvish comes out and gives up a double. And
Springer jumped on him quick.
He
had his number, though, even during the regular season.
Right now, George Springer had just about everybody's number. But here's the thing. What's his name? Cody Bellinger makes an error because he's young, and even though it's a play you have to make, the Dodgers came out flat, just plain and simple. That error scored the first run, and it led to the second run. Then
can't make errors in the seventh game of the World Series.
But you can. Check this out.
Dig.
Because then in the bottom of the first, Chris Taylor leads off with a double.
Mm-hmm.
And what ended up being the foreshadowing was that the Dodgers were not going to get runs across that night, and it wasn't because of superior pitching.
Well,
the Dodgers, I can't roll T. The Dodgers literally got a leadoff double.
Yeah.
Nobody moved him to third. That's not superior pitching. That's bad baseball.
Bad execution.
Come on.
The pitching was enough to keep you
Come
down.
on,
They held you down.
that's not true.
Yes,
that's
it is.
not true.
Yes,
Not
it
for
is.
12 runners on base.
That's shame on them. They couldn't get the job done. They couldn't hit the ball.
I agree. That's what you just made my point. That's what I'm saying.
But the pitching is the problem.
It's not that Sandy Koufax was out there.
It doesn't have to be Sandy Koufax. You can't hit the ball. You can't hit the ball.
Which means that it's a problem with the hitters. It's not a problem with the pitchers.
No. It's the pitchers who cause hitters problems.
Nah, man.
The Dodgers don't have hitters like that. Just like I told you in the beginning, Cody Bellinger would be exploited. Didn't I say that?
I think we can run the tape back.
And he was well exploited. He had one, maybe two good games.
When he decided to go the other way.
Yeah, when he decided.
And for some reason, he refused to remember that lesson.
Well, I don't even think that it was just that lesson. What had happened was that he took advantage of bad pitches, and that's what you're supposed to do in those situations.
I don't.
Because go back and look at those pitches where he had the opportunity. But when those guys executed those pitches against him, keeping the breaking ball low and in on him, he swung over it every single time.
And that's everybody. That's
not everybody though, because you can lay off them. They're not strikes
for him. Yeah, but that's not executing good pitches. That's the pitcher's pitch. What my point is that he found success when he was willing to go the other way.
So Charlie Morton hung a breaking ball. He went into the right, and he went and that's where he got into the gap.
That's when he got into the groove.
Yeah, that's when
because then after that he went deep.
On
another hanging breaking ball that was in.
That's what I'm saying. Those are bad pitches.
Okay, but at the same time, when he got hits, I think he went 3 for 4 that game, that crazy game.
He showed out.
Showed out.
Showed up and showed out.
And won't he do it? And then when he did that though, him just like Jock Peterson, you would realize, wow, when I hit the ball to the opposite field,
I have success.
I'm very successful.
But guess
I should hit the ball to the opposite field.
It's hard to do that though in that little small set. Because this is the difference between the good hitters, the great hitters, and the average hitters. Because
I agree.
The great hitters make adjustments during the game,
during the series, during at bats. You're not going to keep.
Okay, this is what you're trying to do.
You're not going to keep getting Altuve out on the same pitch.
And they did the same thing to Corey Seager though, because Corey Seager can't handle that low and inside pitch either, and they kept it there on him. And he struck out in a big situation.
He sure did. Didn't move the runners.
Didn't move the runners over in the seventh game of the World Series.
So this is my point. That's my point.
That's good pitching. They got the pitchers executed.
Even with that, the Dodgers had plenty of opportunities to come back in that game. They didn't want it. And they
just wanted somebody to give it to them.
That's not wanting it. That's not wanting it. That's not wanting it.
You need it. You can't want it. You got to need it.
You have to go get it.
George Springer went got the seats. Let the game off with a dub. Come on, man.
Man, he's MVP.
MVP.
He's a real MVP. He's
Put the cameras on him.
Yeah, he did that. Wow. And the whole series hinged upon him getting his act together. And in game one, he was shut down.
Yeah, after the first
and
game.
after that, I'll tell you something that the Dodgers missed out on. I put it on Twitter, and some people agreed with me, some people didn't. They really missed out on the veteran leadership of an Adrian Gonzalez, even if he wasn't playing.
Right.
Because Adrian Gonzalez is a kind of hitter. He's a well above average hitter.
Well above average. Even in big time situations, you can bring him out and just let him,
forget about it.
Just like they bring out Carlos Beltran off the bench.
Who had a terrible at bat in game 6.
It was high cheese. Like, high cheese. They got me. That's the worst.
He panicked.
It's always terrible to the end of the game.
It's the worst in the game.
Like, I can't wait to get out here tomorrow.
And so Carlos Beltran, sitting where we sat, Carlos Beltran was on the stairs talking to the young players in between every single inning. And he was talking to those guys. I imagine he was talking about different at-bats and different scenarios.
What they were doing to you.
What they're trying, how they're getting you.
Yeah.
And the Dodgers didn't have that. And Adrian,
but you do, though, because Dave Roberts actually is good at that.
Yeah, but Dave Roberts is managing an entire game.
Yeah.
It's kind of tough.
And who's that hitting coach that they have that helps Puig out?
Turner Ward.
Yeah, because Turner Ward actually speaks to those guys about that. It's just that you have to have the talent to execute.
Well, they did. Come on, man. Don't be ridiculous. The Dodgers have the talent. Those kids have the talent.
They're kids, but that's the main thing. They're kids. They can't execute right now because they don't have the discipline yet.
George Springer didn't have he had
one
the
game.
talent.
One game he didn't have the discipline.
All playoffs except for when the World Series started. That's
what you needed.
Well, no, you need it all the time. But I agree with what you're saying.
Well, the dude's numbers was bonkers the whole year.
The numbers were nuts.
Yeah, so he's been doing it all year.
And then he got shut down
in the playoffs.
And
Shut down. He didn't get shut down.
Yeah, he got
the
shut
Dodgers
down.
Literally got shut down.
The Red Sox shut him down, and the Yankees shut him down. He started to show out in that Dodgers series, which is when he needed to. But he wasn't as consistent as, say, a Bregman or like an Altuve, one of those guys. Or realistically, the real MVP that nobody's talking about is Yuli Gurriel. And nobody's talking about
Hello.
And we talked about how all-world he was in the World Series preview.
Yeah, Yuli just got marred. I mean, his whole
thing. Nobody's ever going to remember anything except for the unacceptable, completely and totally unacceptable
slant-eyed thing.
Yeah, which has nothing to do
with baseball. But then that's terrible because he had a great World Series.
He had great playoffs. His whole playoff campaign.
He could honestly be the MVP.
That's what I'm saying. I felt like. Because when you start talking about clutch knocks.
Yeah, he hit a bomb off of Clayton Kershaw. You down by 3. He ties the game up.
Are you crazy?
Yeah. He hit off of Severino. He hit Tanaka.
You bring him out.
bring him out and see what happens.
Judge saved the bomb that he hit off the
He
Tanaka.
sure did.
He was a monster and gave you great work at first base.
Yes.
Sitting behind for all the home 4 games, sitting right next to first base and being a former first baseman, watching his footwork, he gave you great first base work. But
the truth of the matter is that he can play anywhere.
Truth of the matter is he's a third baseman,
yeah.
and he's over there doing his work.
Yeah.
Now, breaking it down, it was interesting. I wonder if Carlos Correa would have proposed to his girl if they lost.
Honestly, I think that he would have because he had the ring. He might have just done it in the dugout.
On the bus ride home to try to light things up.
In the middle of crying.
Man. But
would you marry me, dude?
But yeah, no, there's that was good. Shout out to him. He showed a lot of love. He showed love. Altuve showed love. Bregman just hit me on Instagram the other day. And
he should have hit you for waving that flag. He didn't see you, huh?
No, what are you talking about? I'm not an Astros fan. I couldn't care less about the Astros.
Oh.
Yeah.
You ought to be ashamed of yourself.
Why? Because I don't like teams with bad bullpens?
You don't like the world champs?
Don't like the world champs. Don't like it. Even though I like the individual players. Those guys are great. And ownership was great. We sat next to the owners. They were all really, really cool.
They sure were.
Solid people. The Ryans were really, really nice people. But it's a disappointing season now for the Dodgers because I don't think this is actually something to build on.
No. So you need to dismantle that squad a little bit, huh?
I don't think you dismantle the squad because they are really good. But there's guys that are going to have to go.
Well,
Gonzo's going to have to go because I don't think that Adrian Gonzalez is a bench player.
No.
And I also don't think that he appreciated the way that the Dodgers handled the whole scenario because the rumor was that he actually wasn't hurt. They just told him not to be a part of the team, which is terrible. That's just bad for chemistry.
I thought that they messed up without putting on Granderson.
I thought they could have used Curtis is another guy that could have helped
that
them.
Shows up in big time situations.
He sure does, and always has.
He might have had a bad season when he came over to Los Angeles.
You're not going to keep throwing him low and inside curveballs and striking him out. I tell you that much. Eventually, he's going yard.
For me, I would get rid of Jock Peterson. Chase Utley's contract is up anyway, so he's probably going. I would get rid of Logan Forsythe, and I probably would keep
Culberson showed you he was game.
I would keep Charlie Culberson on the bench, but you can move Cody Bellinger out there to the outfield and maybe bring up another. But then see, the Dodgers messed up. Like I kept saying, they gave up that
Calhoun.
kid. Cole Calhoun, not Cole Calhoun, Willie Calhoun for Yu Darvish. Now Yu Darvish is probably gone. I mean, he might have messed up his career. You know, he's going to get big money.
But he's going to strike out 250 guys.
Because he's going to strike out a lot of guys. But now this whole thing about him not being a clutch player in the World Series is going to walk with him forever.
Sure is, which, as we know, is not necessarily valid because he was a big-time clutch pitcher in the World Baseball Classic.
Was.
Now, I sent you that article that I found was really interesting.
About him tipping pitches,
that
right?
he was potentially tipping pitches. And what Reed Ryan told me is that the Astros found out, I don't know if I told you this, the Astros found out that Davinsky was tipping pitches, which would explain why Davinsky wasn't as effective as he was all season.
Because sometimes he was completely unhittable.
And therein lies the issue. I mean, guys, Major League Baseball players are so smooth as for what it is that they're looking for, that it was a small pitch tipping that Darvish was doing. Very small.
Any kind of tell.
And you got 30 guys sitting on a bench just watching you,
not
waiting.
Counting scouts in the stands.
Not counting those guys, just waiting to see. And if you look at it was on Business Insider, and if you look at the illustrations on Business Insider, it was very clear what he was doing. And what he was doing was when he was throwing the fastball, he would actually just put his hand in his glove and proceed to his windup. When he was throwing an off-speed pitch, he would put his hand in his glove and actually twirl the ball a little bit. They picked up on it, and they showed different at-bats where Brian McCann was clearly saw it, and then times when he didn't see it, and he looked like a totally different batter.
Yeah, but Yu Darvish has been inconsistent all year, and I think that's one of the reasons why the Rangers were willing to give him up. Because he's been inconsistent, which is very uncharacteristic for him.
Yes.
Because he's really a dominant pitcher. He's has been in the past.
Yeah, he's been an ace.
But I think that he's going to have to reestablish himself.
I agree. Because I don't know if Los Angeles is the place to do that.
I don't think that you can do it after coming out stinking and joining up 2 games like that. I don't think they can forgive you in a la-la.
Maybe.
You think they can forgive him?
Winning forgives a lot. Now,
you got to give him an opportunity. I don't think
that's
they give him
an
opportunity.
Now, Andre Ethier's out. Unbelievable. Got to see Andre Ethier's last at bat as a Dodger, and you know what he did? He got a clutch knock and scored a run because that's what professional hitters do. He had a great watching Andre Ethier in Game 7 was the antithesis of watching all the young guys the whole series, because he got up with a runner on second base. I think it was runners on first and second. Andre Ethier got up, and they tried to get him out with the low and inside breaking ball, and he just watched it like, what am I going to do with that? That's not me.
That's not a strike.
That's not a strike. I don't need to swing at that. And then he worked the count to his favor. I think it was a 2-1 count or a 3-1 count, and he got a base hit through the 3-4 hole.
It got so bad with Cody Bellinger that he just literally started swinging over the curveball over the plate.
And his whole lower half was out of whack.
Yes, and
he
was
just
a complete swing with his arms.
Swing. It was a total little league swing. I mean, he has to go back and look at that and be really. I wonder if he's going to be discouraged because
the whole season, next season,
that's all he's going to get.
That's all he's going to get
until he proves he can do otherwise. And also, I don't know if Jock Peterson is actually willing to go the other way like he did for his success.
Obviously,
or not.
he's not, because he's been up for 2 or 3 years and he hasn't done it. So he just had a good streak like he does because he's a streak hitter. He did it, and now he probably is going to reap the benefits of that.
Yeah,
but I would get rid of Jock Peterson, too. I would get rid of Jock Peterson. You have to clean house in a sense.
You say the foundation stays with Puig, Taylor, Turner, Bellinger, Seager. You never get rid of Corey Seager. That kid he has the potential to be one of the all-time greats. I have to say, I really liked what Austin Barnes did at catcher.
Yeah,
I'd probably get rid of Yasmani.
Yeah.
The pitchers, I stay with Alex Wood because he showed me he was ready.
Yeah.
He showed up in a big situation.
Yeah.
I stay with Brandon Morrow. Obviously, you stay with Ken Lee.
Brandon Morrow's a free agent.
But I bring him back.
Cheese him up.
You cheese him up. I actually stay with that whole bullpen core. I stay with Tony Watson, Cingrani.
How about Baez?
Who's biased? I think you're biased. I don't think you're biased. No, Pedro Baez got to go. There's no doubt about that. That's like Pedro Strop on the Cubs. Got to go. I got to get you out of there. And I'm trying to think who else. I actually wouldn't mind keeping Granderson. I don't know who else will, but that's the core, and then you got to make other moves. The team won too many games to not win the World Series. And well, unlike the Yankees,
yeah,
they were ahead of schedule.
Yeah.
And because the problem is they met up with another team that was actually right on schedule as well.
Right. The problem with me with the Dodgers was that they had too many utility players playing in the field at one time. So you would go with Kiki Hernandez.
It was what you said.
Yeah.
It was what you said.
And eventually it catches up to you. You have to have the position players playing their positions. And it's fine that you can use utility players sometimes. You have to plug and play, but you can't live there. I didn't even understand Jock Peterson not being in center field because
I agree.
He's a natural center fielder, and he gives you a good center field.
He does play a good center field.
Yeah, and
he looked like he lost some weight. He looked like he actually got serious about his conditioning.
And Chris Taylor gave you a decent center field, but the dynamics are different. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because even with George Springer, when they move George Springer and they bring in Cameron Maybin.
And guess what? George Springer goes to right.
Yeah, and George Springer is a right fielder. He can play center or right. And Cameron Maybin is
a superior center fielder.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they're smart enough to say, hey, okay, George, move to right. And George is like, cool.
Yeah.
But it's not like me playing shortstop and then moving to left field.
Yeah.
So if you bring Curtis and Granderson in there and let him play his position and let him go, he can't be any worse than most of those guys because I think the Dodgers' overall batting average was barely over 200.
Dude, the 1 through 4 hitters in
188
from games 2 through 6, or maybe midway through 2 through 7 was 150. I don't know if somebody got a knock.
So would you say that that's good pitching?
I would say that they got shut down. What was interesting was it was not good pitching by the bullpen, obviously, but it was good pitching by the starters.
And A.J. Hinch, I have to give him credit.
And it was poor adjustments. I felt I don't want to give them. You know who pitched well? There's Justin Verlander. Justin Verlander pitched well. Charlie Morton pitched well. And Lance pitched okay. Lance is getting like the hero's welcome. I wasn't really overly impressed with Lance's work.
He hit a lot of guys.
In games. He didn't get through 3 innings.
Yeah, but that's all they needed. And what I really liked about A.J. Hinch, because the Dodgers did the same thing, A.J. Hinch was like, okay, I'm going to bring horses out of the bullpen. And then we spoke about that because the
All-Star
Astros
game element.
Yeah, but the Astros have a better start pitching than the
rotation.
Dodgers.
Yeah, that's true.
So they brought out Verlander. They're going to bring out Keuchel, and they were going to bring out Charlie Morton. And then you had Lance McCullers. So Lance McCullers, he stunk it up for a few innings. Okay, now all we need to do is keep him in the game. Then we come out with Charlie. Charlie's a problem, man. If you're going to close the game with Verlander and Keuchel, there's a problem.
It's a problem because Justin Verlander was out there warming up.
Exactly, and Charlie Morton
as was Dallas Keuchel.
Yeah, and Charlie Morton was already shut down, lights out.
And Francisco Liriano actually got the job done.
I thought that he would get the job.
He came in and got the job, especially against those lefties.
He gave it to Bellinger.
The double play ball, I think, or either that or just a hard
striking
ground
out the
out.
first time. The first night they brought him in,
and the second night they had a ground out to second base.
Yeah,
which was Game 7.
And he's throwing 94, 95.
He still got his gas,
and you don't see him. You haven't seen him. He's a problem. I don't even think he threw the changeup.
Well, his problem was that it was gas. It was gas and slider. Problem was that nobody saw him because he hasn't been playing.
I would keep him. I would keep him and convert him
as a middle or
closer or a middle reliever.
They got to do something to close games. Ken Giles does not have it.
Yeah, and Davinsky, I would keep Davinsky, and I would keep Brad Peacock, but then they need to implode. They need to get rid of that core group of guys that can't get the job done. They can't get the job done.
They should really get rid of that Altuve guy.
Should have come to the Dodgers.
He should come to the Dodgers. I think they can.
We'll pass.
They can figure out how to work him in on the Dodgers.
We'll pass. Altuve was big in the World Series, man.
He couldn't come through in Game 6 though. Made me lose my bet. What can you do? So a wonderful season to Major League Baseball.
Great
Farewell,
season.
Baseball. It's about 145 days until you come back to me, and I just can't wait. I'm chomping at the bit.
I miss you, dude.
Already. Which leads us to the next point, which is still baseball, but it's somewhat football. You saw this statement that Vin Scully made about the NFL, which is sad. If anybody in here, Vin Scully said that he spent a year in the Navy. He never did anything. These were his words. He said, I never did anything, but I always respected anybody that put on the uniform. And because of these protests, I'll never watch an NFL game again, despite the fact that I loved watching NFL in the fall and the winter. To me, I'm not surprised by this statement. I think it's a little bit indicative of age. And I also think it's indicative of the powers that be, including the NFL owners, all the way to the top to President Cheeto, who have successfully waged a propaganda campaign to make the protest about something different than what it was actually about. And even on the media, you see it. They constantly, like when they reported this story, they called it Vin Scully speaks out on anthem protest. Nobody's protesting the national anthem. And nobody's protesting the military. And they've successfully hijacked the message,
right,
and changed it. And this was my
concern. The narrative has been completely changed.
And this was my concern from the word go. And that's why I was telling you that before, when I was like, man, this is I don't know where the win is, because neither side can back down at this point. And now you have the guy that owns Papa John's coming in talking reckless, and it's all a big cluster duck now. It's all bad. And what they have going is a no-win situation. And one of the main things that they need to do is have better football games.
That would help.
Is because
they had some good ones this weekend, though.
They did, but the majority of them were not good. Yeah. The majority of the football games were not one-possession games or anywhere near it. If you look at the football, if you look at the football scores, come on, man. I mean, Jacksonville beat the crap out of Cincinnati.
They should have. Cincinnati's terrible.
New Orleans beats the crap out of Tampa Bay. The Rams beat the crap out of the Giants. The Eagles beat the crap out of Denver. There's just
not
a bunch
parity
of games.
In the league.
There's just not parity in the league. And even though I'm surprised that the Jets beat Buffalo on Thursday. But there was a couple good games. This weekend I was out in Washington, D.C., in the nation's capital, for a wonderful event called Fight Night DC, and it's a fight night for the kids. It's for to benefit underprivileged kids in the DMV area. It's a great event. One night a year, they give a permit to smoke indoors, and it's basically a guy's night out with a whole bunch of wealthy people and their friends, eating a lot of artery-clogging food and smoking a lot of cigars. Despite how that sounds, it turned out to be a great night. And they also watched some MMA fighting in that. And I don't know how those fighters fight in those smoky rooms, but it is what it is. And so it was a great event. I went out there and spoke to some diehard Redskins fans who have a very interesting take on the Kirk Cousins situation, because they were speaking about how Cousins can't have the security to actually not feel like a one-night stand despite being paid $25 million a year, which leads to his up and down play. But this weekend, he came and pulled off a biggie.
Yeah, but this is not even Kirk Cousins' fault. I mean, this is ridiculous.
They won.
I know. I'm just saying that the Redskins overall, because they don't have an offensive line. They don't have a running game. How are you going to blame that on Kirk Cousins? That's not.
I ran into Vernon, by the way.
Oh, did you? What did you know about?
Busting up, talking about, just talking about living and how he enjoys playing at home.
Yeah, I'm sure of it.
He's
big time now, too. He's getting...
He always has been.
Yeah, new lease on life, though.
If you use him, he's always effective. He's always
Kirk
been
Cousins
effective.
Use him because Jordan Reed is always hurt.
Yeah.
But the problem is they don't have an offensive line. They don't have any top-notch receivers. The receivers that they did have, they got rid of. And I'm sick and tired of all these teams getting these number one quarterbacks and then don't give them any tools to work with. You got Cam Newton that's the same way. Russell Wilson doesn't have any help. Kirk Cousins doesn't have any help. And then you're like, oh, what's going on with these guys? They hike the ball and run for their lives. Those dudes are too big to stand out there and take hits like that.
You can't do it. That's how guys are getting hurt.
Yeah. Everybody's knee is twisted up. I was looking at the game, my knee got twisted.
Oh, don't do it. Straighten
Terrible,
it out.
Right?
Go stretch. Namaste. Oh, man, that's terrible. Yeah, so what do you think about Seattle?
The Seahawks?
Yeah.
They're not going anywhere. The defense is not what it used to be. Russell Wilson literally is out there by himself. When you play against a good team like Philadelphia, Russell Wilson is clutch. But in the end, you're going to get overpowered, especially if a Kirk Cousins could beat you with nobody. Who did he have? I mean, literally, Doxson?
I don't know.
You had Vernon Davis. That's the only, receiver literally out there. You're tight end.
And that's at home.
You have Chris Thompson, running back. You have Rob Kelly, a running back. Neither of them are top-tier running backs. You don't have defense. You don't have an offensive line. And then you go and beat the Seattle Seahawks. So how can we take the Seahawks serious?
Well, I mean, when you want to put it logically, it's a truth. Also ran into Terrell Suggs out there.
Oh, really?
Ran into Sizzle. Ran into Sizzle, the Ballers co-star. And it was that was an interesting trip out there, because I happened to be there in Washington at the game when LeBron put up 57, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. The Raiders came through in Miami late.
Yeah, are you impressed with that? You beat Jay Cutler.
I mean, you act like he's a bad quarterback. But you know what? The Raiders are limping through. I don't even cover the Raiders as much as I normally do because we're still going through our domestic problem.
Wow, it's a bitter divorce.
It's sad. It's so sad. But they got the job done. I can't believe that Carr is playing with through this fracture thing, despite what they say that it's healed.
Yeah, and he's not playing well.
Marshawn looked good yesterday, though. Actually,
I said, against the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah, they're just not the disciplined team,
right? Because they've been shutting Marshawn down, and honestly, nobody could be mad at Marshawn Lynch. He was slowing down when he left. And you can't expect that much.
Yeah.
And now everybody thought that he was going to come back and be beast mode from the earlier days when he was in Seattle. It's not going to happen. It's over.
That's not how football works.
Yeah, that's not how football works. Just running backs get old overnight.
And what do you think is going on with your Atlanta Falcons that you love so much?
Where is Julio? Bad. I mean, they lost their offensive coordinator, which seems to be really big, right?
Seems like it changes everything.
Yeah, and they haven't been able to overcome that.
You need the right personnel with the right system.
Yes.
Otherwise, you're not going to be able to get the job
They're not
done.
using Devonta Freeman the right way. They're not using Tevin Coleman. Julio is – I think Julio has one touchdown. That's unacceptable.
It's unacceptable. The guy has proven himself to be unstoppable over and over and over
So
again.
that means that you have a lot of bad play calling out there.
And there's a lot of violence in the league. And not
There's
just on
always
the
been
field.
a lot of violence.
No, but what about this Tampa Bay New Orleans game? What about this situation? I mean, this is it's so easy already to get hurt in the NFL. And then when you start adding these other extracurriculars, I saw something hilarious on one of the handles that was talking about how the only thing to explain the Cincinnati scenario is that Avantes and him switch bodies or something like that. You start adding these other elements, guys actually neck tackling guys during the play and so on and so forth. Eventually, somebody's going to actually get really hurt.
Yeah, but they have on helmets. Let them do it, dude.
Wow. Tell me how you really feel. That's
AJ
terrible.
Green was swinging on the helmet. I was like, wow.
What are you doing?
What are you doing? You're going to break your hand, dude.
What are you doing?
But they're aggressive. They're violent. And AJ Green, those guys, he wants to win. You got him out there in a bad situation. AJ Green is not going to stay out there and keep on losing and act like
And
it's cool.
and be cool with it.
I'm going to lose it eventually. Your man pushed him.
He did. Don't push me, cause I'm. Yeah, and in a victory that was much needed, the Dallas Cowboys came through and beat the crap out of Terry's Kansas City Chiefs.
Terrible.
What happened? What's going on with your man Andy Reid?
He's giving you classic Reid. I have a number 3,
Reid.
please.
Oh, you want a classic Reid? You want a mismanagement of my personnel?
Yes.
All right. How about this time we're going to give you you don't want a number 1, which is I'll lose it late. You want me to lose it early. Okay, no problem.
Terrible work, man. Come on. You're not giving the kid the ball. Kareem Hunt has not been getting the ball, and now we're paying for it. He has to have the ball more than 9 carries. You depended on Travis Kelce. Okay, your receivers got hurt. You have to depend on Mike Conley. You have to Mike Conley's out. You have Tariq Hill, but you're not getting on the ball. Yeah. Tariq shows you that when he touches the ball, things happen.
Things happen. And Kareem Hunt is the same way because when he touches the ball, things happen for Tyreek Hill.
But you have to tighten up that defense. The defense is terrible. Defense is like literally terrible. So basically the only way that they're going to win is having shootouts. And you just ran into a team that actually committed to the run, which was the Dallas Cowboys. They committed to Ezekiel Elliott, putting it on him, and he put it on.
As he did what he
because
did
the Dallas Cowboys really don't have that many receivers. You have Dez Bryant who can't separate anymore.
Right, he just got great hands.
Yeah, and you have and he dropped the ball a couple of times last night. And you got Terrence Williams who showed out yesterday, which is very rare.
Right.
Cole Beasley. I mean, come on, man.
Now I want to take a minute and go detour because we're in Dallas. I mean, people, we got to get our lives together because this situation in Texas is terrible. Absolutely stone cold terrible. And in real life, if this would have been a Muslim person or a person of color, we all know that the call of the day would have been to bring out a ban, make a wall, or to do something to this.
Active terrorism, that they never call it.
Yeah. And now we're calling it something different. But ultimately, the reason I bring it up is we got to make better people in America. We need to create better people in general, myself included, everybody, because for individuals to want to shoot up a church, there's something very, very wrong, and not just with that person. because the chain reaction effect of what's supposed to happen when somebody shoots up people peacefully worshiping is something different than what does happen. Because what does happen is a cycle of outcry, thoughts and prayers, and silence. And nothing changes. We don't change the mental health approach. We don't change the laws about guns. Is there really a good reason to have an AR-15 in general if you're not in the military?
Well, we have the Second Amendment that gives you the right to bear arms.
Yeah, but is there a reason to have the AR-15? That's all I want to know. Not that you definitely have the right to bear arms. I just don't know if there's a need to have a weapon of mass destruction, if you will, which obviously consistently falls into the hands of people who are willing to do it. There's a self-control issue that's going on, right, is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, because even if you have an AR-15 or if you have a 22, it doesn't matter, because if somebody wants to do wrong, they're going to do wrong.
They're going to do wrong, but the amount of wrong that they do could be limited.
Yeah, I just have a different opinion about the gun control thing, because I don't feel like everybody should run and hide. If you can, we are Americans and we know how to fight back, so everybody can't run and hide.
Well, it's interesting because ultimately that's what they haven't released the information about this, whether the guy died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound or wound that a bystander saw and popped him with a rifle from a distance. I'm always suspect because I feel like we never get all the answers. We never get all we never get all the facts, not all the answers. We never get all the facts. And that always makes me, hesitant to speak on it. But I know that you just can't keep having people being killed in public endlessly without any sort of change.
Especially when you're just going to a non-peaceful event. A peaceful event.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And you're just going somewhere just to have a good time, and then all of a sudden
something breaks out.
So now everywhere you go, you have to have an exit strategy, pretty much.
Yeah.
Because you don't never know who's going to do what, when they're going to do it, where they're going to do it. I just came here to have a good time, man. I came here to a concert. I went to church, and, I'm walking down the street. You don't know what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. It's true. Really, really tough stuff. Really sad. Thoughts and prayers do go out to the people of Texas.
That's ridiculous. 20-something people?
Almost 30 people, and that's dead. That's not even just the injured. That's almost 30 people dead. And, But back to football. How about them Rams?
It's Ram time.
It's Ram time, and Jeff Fisher clearly couldn't get it done.
Is a loser.
And now, pour salt in the wound, why don't you? And now they figured out how to make that team work. And this kid Jared Goff is being who he's supposed to be.
Yeah, because you brought in that guy from the Redskins, right? McVay, who's a young guy who has a fresh approach, who can actually relate to these kids. Who brought in?
He's only 34.
Yeah, brought in an offensive coordinator, worked with this kid and get him together. He was the #1 draft pick, and for some reason, Jeff Fisher, decided that this kid wasn't prepared, and I don't understand what happened. Why is it that now he can come into the games and he can produce? It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make sense.
They have one of the best offenses in football. They put up 51?
They put up 51. 51 is hard to put up in football, no matter who you're playing against.
Even on the video game.
It's almost impossible on the video game. Yeah. This is a very interesting concept that they're, that it was possibly one man who was holding the team back, and that one man was the leader of the team.
Was the head coach.
Unbelievable.
But he had.
But it's good though, because now actually LA has some football and they have some people to root for, which is very, very important.
Right. Because the Chargers aren't up to code.
Not at this point. Even though the experience is when you go to the game, but the Chargers themselves are not up to code.
Yeah, that's a whole thing. That's a whole nother issue about, Philip Rivers getting old. The team is, and the coach doesn't look like he's that good. Their game plan, they don't have one.
They say Teddy Bridgewater's coming back.
Yeah, they need him bad too.
Yeah, they do. They were a serious team when he was behind the snap.
But they're talking about he needs to earn his job back.
It's
ridiculous.
Ridiculous. It's football. Football, I'm done with you. Go shut down Jameis Winston with his shoulder, because I made a bad decision, started him over Tyrod Taylor. And Tyrod Taylor put up 46 and Jameis put up 6.
Tyrod put up 46 this week.
Tyrod put up 46.20, and I ended up losing my game by about 7 points, like a dummy.
Wow.
Yeah, how about them apples? And they kept saying that Jameis was questionable, but I didn't think, you know how it is in football. They just call people questionable, and you don't know if that means that they can't go, or you know what I mean?
No, questionable usually means that they're going to play.
Exactly. So I put him in the game, and he did play, but he just played terribly. So that didn't help the cause.
Wow.
There was no pause for the cause.
Rah.
So also what went down this weekend was now I didn't watch. Did you watch any of the UFC fights this weekend?
No, I didn't, honestly.
You know what everybody is saying? Everybody's saying that literally this was the best UFC card ever created.
Really?
46.90 for Tyrod. Sorry, not 46.20. Yeah. They're saying that this card this last weekend with George St. Pierre, who came back after a 4-year hiatus and won. They were all upsets. Everybody on the card got upset, and everybody was that was the champ was talking crazy about how they were going to bust heads and blah 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 blah. They went out there and got served.
I saw somebody get put in that sleeper hold.
And what I saw on the boxing side with the 1s and 2s was murder.
You saw murder.
Let's listen to what the champ had to say. Champion Deontay Taylor, also known as the Bronze, Deontay Wilder, also known as the Bronze Bomber, who was on the OZone last week on tour just to tell everybody that he was going to put in work and that he wanted something after that. After he made Bermain Stivern do the Get Low Challenge, because these memes are hilarious that they have of Bermain looking like he's doing the limbo stick, which is terrible.
The dude was bent back. He was contorted I don't know what.
That had to tear something in his knees.
What does it matter?
Jeez, the guy's got to have bad knees after he gets knocked out. You're a real jerk today.
He didn't come in prepared, man. You got to come in prepared. You can't go in there and fight the heavyweight champ not prepared.
And out of shape.
I mean, completely out of shape. He threw, what I saw, he threw 1 punch.
The official stat was 4 punches that he threw.
I
know how many he landed?
0.
0.
How do you go into a fight and throw 4 punches in any round?
Well, to his credit, he only had 90 seconds or so.
That was the 90 seconds that he brought on himself.
Yeah, he actually had 3 minutes. He only had 3 minutes because it was
he
the
brought
end of
it
the
on
round.
himself. He's got to throw punches in bunches. Deontay was playing games with him out there.
Deontay was playing games with him.
You can't do that with anybody else.
Let me tell you something. It seemed as though Deontay thought about what you had said about snapping that jab because his jab
overtime.
was so crisp.
Extra crispy.
Oh, we fried hard. He snapped that jab. Oh, man.
I like mine extra crispy.
No problem. Here you go, dub. Snapped him up. Let's hear what he had to say after the dub.
Waiting on that fight for a long time now. Me versus A Juice and J. Listen, mate. I declare war upon you. Do you accept my challenge? Or you still gonna squat as you piss? I've been waiting for a long time, baby. I know I'm the champion. I know I'm the best. Is you up for the test?
Is you up for the test from the best?
We're going to see.
Well, we are going to see. And
eventually.
now there was somebody else, our friends over at Round by Round Boxing, caught in the crowd, which was totally and completely unacceptable. And I don't know if you saw this. Listen, take a listen.
Hey, Walter, I'm here. I'm here for you. You want to see me? I am the champion. You know?
You know who that was?
Who?
King Kong Ortiz. In the crowd watching the fight. Talking about we're talking about I'm here for you. Man, out of here. Are you kidding me? What is he doing?
What a bum.
But what are you doing? What are you doing out there trying to call
out anybody? You got caught.
You're the reason Stivern is in there.
Stivern should be looking for you.
Seriously?
You did that to Stivern.
You did that because Stivern didn't have enough time to prepare.
You gave him that work.
He didn't have enough time.
He gave it to him.
Wait a minute. We fight next week?
Man, can we get pushed back?
No doubt.
Okay.
I mean, Stivern gave him a great fight in the first fight.
He didn't give him a great fight this fight.
He gave him no fight.
I mean, what game plan is that you go out there and just stand in front of the heavyweight champ and take 1s and 2s?
That's called murder.
It was close to it. The first 1 and 2 set looked like they almost put him through the ropes.
Oh, my goodness, those 1s and 2s were so
And then
sweet.
he got up with this stupid smirk on his face like
Like
that
it's no
hurt.
big deal.
That ain't no big deal. Like, okay. How about these?
How
He
about
wound
these?
up. I just felt like it's bad for
It's
Deontay.
bad for Deontay because
Because
once again, he didn't get any work.
He didn't get any work, and then it made him have poor discipline, the wide punches and everything else. He did what he was supposed to do,
Yeah.
but he didn't. it was no threat to him. It was just
from the word go.
Yeah,
he came out and did his work, and there was no threat.
Yeah, what he came out there to see was what he was going to do. Stavern just stood out there and he was like, "Oh, okay, is this what we're doing?"
Yeah, and Eddie Hearn, who is Anthony Joshua's promoter, said, "I shouldn't really tell you the reply, but it was, I'll eat him." And the size difference is huge. This is apparently what Joshua said about fighting Wilder. I don't necessarily think that sort of size difference helps you, personally. But being 260 versus being 220, a very athletic 220, as Jimmy Lynn Jr. said, a very game-ready 220-pound champion at 6'7" is a problem.
You can see that he's like the better athlete. I just don't know. I'm up in the air. I think that Anthony Joshua could beat him just because I want to see him. He doesn't get that much work.
This is a problem. But when he has gotten work, I have to say he's shown that he's game. Now this is going to be a fight for the ages if they actually fight. And if they don't fight, the truth of the matter is you can't blame that on Deontay Wilder. The young man has come out on our show and everywhere else who will listen and said, listen, if we got to fight in the UK, I'll go fight in the UK. If we got to fight in Vegas, we fight in Vegas. If we got to fight in the alley, we got to fight on the moon, I'm there.
I don't know why anybody would fight in Vegas, honestly.
I agree. But just because they offer the most money. That's all it is.
But you can get the same amount of money, if not more, by going to Dallas, by going to...
But they don't... Apparently, the way that the posting fees and all that stuff works, it doesn't go like that.
I'm sure they would make adjustments
Clark County actually invites... they bid and they guarantee certain purses because they know how many people are going to come to Vegas to gamble for the fights. And other cities basically don't have that kind of, they don't have that kind of a draw to really do that. And then you end up with murder on the scorecards because the scorecards don't act right.
Scorecards ain't right.
They play a lot. They play a lot in Las Vegas. So, yeah, that's what. This is where we are in the game. And then our man fought this weekend. Now, how'd you feel about that Sean Porter-Adrian Granados fight?
I feel like Sean Porter came out and pushed the issue and did his thing, but I felt like
it was a unanimous decision, 117-111.
Broke his hand, but it looked like he was just getting hit a little bit too much. And that Granado kid was out of line talking about, I won the fight.
Come on, man.
You didn't win the fight.
Now, he won the fight against Broner, which was – and another thing that this fight showed was that Broner actually was that bad.
Yeah.
And not that Sean beat up Adrian, but – also got hit, and then Granados beat up Adrian, but they cheated Granados in that fight.
They did.
And now Sean beat up Adrian. I'm sorry.
Granados.
Yeah, Adrian Granados. His name is Adrian as well. He beat up Granados, and I don't know where he goes from here because Sean is a guy that nobody wants to fight for that exact reason. He's going to bring the fight to you.
He's a problem.
But there are guys in this 47 category that also, if you're willing to get hit, can make it a short night on you.
I mean, Sean, I honestly don't know if he can beat Keith Thurman right now with the way that he fought that fight last night. He came forward.
Keith put something up on the gram and was like, hey, good luck tonight, Sean. Hopefully we can run it back.
Yeah.
He said, depending on how you do, maybe we need to run it back. Now, one thing that I think would be interesting is to see if Terrence Crawford would actually want to fight Sean as his first 147 fight.
Why not?
This is what I'm saying. Because Terrence Crawford is actually a very accurate puncher, but I think that Sean would do
Sean
well.
would overwhelm.
That's what I think Sean would do well with the pressure.
I think he would eventually overwhelm him.
But I don't know how much juice his punches are going to translate going up to 47 because I don't know if he has enough. Now, the guys that I don't necessarily think are a good matchup for a guy moving forward like Sean is Earl Spence. I don't think is a great matchup for him. I truthfully don't think Earl Spence is a great matchup for anybody that's out there in 47. Because he's game ready.
Well, Sean's got a great chin. Sean's a great athlete, and he's got a lot of heart. So I think that he'd give anybody a problem. And
no doubt about that.
I think that he'd give Earl Spence the pressure that he applies is what's awesome.
And he has crazy conditioning.
Yes, the only thing that I'd say about him is that he just gets hit a little bit too much for him. He gets hit a little bit too much.
Right.
And that's what.
And I wonder if that's just like in this scenario, if he says, you know what, I have no respect for Granados. I have no respect for Adrian Broner.
Right.
I'm willing to get hit. And once I tasted Keith Thurman's power, you know what? I'm willing to get hit. I wonder if he tastes somebody with crazy power, if he then changes his approach. Because the only person that I've seen his entire career that mitigates that pressure was Kell Brook. And I was at the fight, and Kell Brook stood tall and popped a jab, and it caused him a serious problem.
Kell Brook could have beat him if he didn't have an injured eye, I do believe. But once
could have beat Earl Spence?
Errol Spence. Yeah. That's my bad. Yeah, he could have beat Earl Spence. He had him. And it's just that his eye socket wasn't healed. I mean,
That was a great fight.
That was a great
I need
fight.
to watch that fight again.
yeah. But if he would have been healed properly, he could have came back, and I do believe he would have beat Earl Spence. Earl Spence was in trouble.
Yeah, there was a couple times. And I mean, that was a war of attrition, that one. And then his body let him down. Once again, an effect of fighting Gennady Golovkin. It's a very similar to the Manny Pacquiao effect that we see, that happens.
You see that Tom's trying to make that fight happen. They're saying that, Canelo might not want to fight him again.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I just saw a report on Boxing Scene, I do believe, the other day. And
Let me know, please.
yeah, let me pull that puppy up.
Pull that puppy up. Our man is fighting this Saturday on HBO Boxing. I'm really excited to see him back in the ring. And that's Daniel Jacobs versus Luis Arias. And I think Luis Arias is in for a rough fight because Daniel's got some security now, fighting with Eddie Hearn and Matchroom Boxing. And he's on HBO. And his last fight was against Gennady. And I actually think he took the right amount of time to heal up, because that was back in March, and now we're talking about November where the fight is coming up. It's solid work.
Right. So Tom said that there's no hard deadline, but at some point we have to confirm other options if it looks like Canelo doesn't want to get in the ring with Triple G again. He told Sky Sports the Canelo rematch is the biggest fight in the sport of boxing and the priority for Triple G. I'm in regular contact with Golden Boy to see if we can make the fight that the fans are demanding to see. And at the same time, Loeffler is not going to place Golovkin's career on hold. Golovkin only fought twice in 2017 and 2016 and wasn't happy about that. As he likes
loves to fight, as we
he likes
know.
to fight at least 3 to 4 times a year. As he tell you, man, I just want to get in there.
He after the fight, the champ wants to fight some more. And this is when we were both talking to him after the Danny Jacobs fight and after the Canelo fight.
Yes.
And Canelo hit him hard a couple times.
Yeah.
Danny hit him harder.
Yeah, harder.
Yeah.
And he just enjoys to mix it up. The
Man.
ones and twos.
Man. Yeah, bruh. It's going down. You got anything else you want to cover? You want to talk about leading the league? Let me tell you something. I was at that game.
LeBron James.
Man.
The supernova.
The supernova. I was out there, and honestly, for one, I didn't even recognize Derrick Rose first and foremost.
Really?
Throw that
Why
out
not?
there. Just physically, he looked different. He's got the small braids,
Mm-hmm.
But secondly, Derrick Rose put up nice numbers. I looked up and I was like, Derrick Rose got 20 and 4, 25.
He always puts up
like
sneaky
that.
nice numbers.
But LeBron James, I looked up and I said, dang, LeBron's got 42. Then I looked up and I was like, wow, LeBron's got 49. Oh my goodness, he got 55? It was like watching a video game.
And this is sort of like the blessing and the curse for him, because you know that he can probably do that night in and night out.
And then the next night they lose to Atlanta.
Yeah, because he lets up a little bit and he's trying to get his team involved, and those guys don't produce, and then he's the one that's left holding the bag because he didn't do what he did the other night by scoring 50-something points.
Wow.
It's not his job to score 50-something points every night. You have a team. The team is everybody's supposed to pull their position, right?
Well, and I think that right now there's a little extra stress on because Isaiah Thomas isn't there. So there's more on him. I'm sure Derrick Rose is trying to figure out the right balance of shot taking and versus distribution through Glauber so that they can figure out what's what. But, I don't even feel the need to speak on the NBA much. It's not time to panic. Everything is really, really early. I think the number one thing that we can speak on is the emergence of Giannis Antetokounmpo as arguably the best player in basketball that's not named LeBron James.
Right. Kevin Durant is not giving you the Durant yet, and so
and he will. But see, this is what I feel like they need to fix in basketball, is that and we're talking about two guys who love a sport with the most games out of any professional sports, and there's 81 games in basketball versus 100, there's double the amount of games in baseball, but I don't know people who really care like that about basketball right now because everybody feels the same way. Everybody feels like when we get down to May, it's going to come down to the Warriors and the Cavs.
Yeah.
And there's going to be some exciting series in between
Boston,
between Boston and Washington and blah, blah, blah. But ultimately, who's going to stop those two teams? And really, the Warriors are separating themselves far and away this go-around, it seems like.
Well, they struggled a little bit, though.
They struggled, but then in the games, it's like then when the games that are going that they decide that they're the Warriors, they're completely there's no parity there.
What do you have a super team? There's not supposed to be parity. You have like 5 starters that are literally above well above average.
Well above average. And you're talking HOF.
There's no other team that really has
talking
5
about-
starters that are, that's literally above board like that.
We're talking about Hall of Fame. Oh, I wanted to cover this thing with Primetime and Tony Romo. What'd you think about this? Let's play this exchange.
See, Tony, I tried my best to take the high road, but I don't know the address to the high road. So I got to come at you, man. You 10 years as a starter, you're 2-4 in the playoffs. You ain't won nothing. I tried to bury the hatchet. Both of us work for CBS. I went and shook your hand and say, Tony, you're doing a great job this year. I thought that would be it. But nevertheless, you keep on shooting at me. Tony, what's going on, man? I got a gold jacket that I didn't buy. Dak says hi. And bye. Tony, leave me alone, man. I got a lot of ammunition, man. How many interceptions? 19 in 2012? Come on, man. You threw to everybody but me. Tony, come on, man. You know you never won the big one. So stop, man. Leave me alone. I tried to take the high road, but I don't know the address. All right.
Oh, man. Tony Romo. You might want to keep it quiet with Prime. Because if he can't do nothing else, he can talk some head.
He can talk some head, although he wasn't a great tackler. But I don't understand when Tony Romo can come out and talk about anybody.
I agree.
Tony
and
Romo-
I think that's Deion Sanders' point.
You can't talk about nobody.
Yeah.
Tony Romo he should definitely have been out of a Cowboys uniform for
At least 2 years before
at
that.
least. Come on, man.
Yeah, he should have been out of the league.
Yeah.
And just because of
Well, he could have been a backup.
being
I'll give him
frail.
a backup. Let him be a backup.
Yeah, he was a backup. He was a backup for Dak.
And
Wow.
he didn't want to take that. I mean, but it's ridiculous that Tony Romo would come out and blast any. He's got to come up with a better analogy or something, because trying to roast Prime and he's in the Hall of Fame, it ain't gonna work.
And everybody knows Prime's body of work is immaculate.
His skills were extraordinary.
The only thing that he didn't do was tackle. Really?
Yeah.
Outside of that.
But most of the time he
and
didn't have to
nobody
because
I
they
was
didn't
just
throw
about
to his
say,
side.
most of the time, who Prime need to tackle?
He shuts down that side of the field, man. Nobody even looks that way,
Man.
except for Dan Marino. Dude.
Who didn't care? Who just
didn't
kept
care.
running it.
Yeah.
But that's one guy out of the whole league. You got any nicks and notes you want to add?
No, that sounds like that's pretty thorough, right? Thorough Bailey.
It's a thorough show. Didn't have any callers. I know Cowboy Kev was itching, chomping at the bit
Why
to
you
try to
grab
get
him?
on and speak about them Cowboys. Cowboys, baby. Well, I'm going to have to leave you if that's the case.
Oh, you know what? We have Yasiel Puig getting robbed.
Again.
Yeah.
I mean, Yasiel Puig stays getting robbed. And you know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking, honestly, it's beyond just that normal celebrity robbery shot. I'm thinking it's some of that
Some of his
stuff.
homeboys.
Well, no, I'm thinking it's some of that stuff that they've been talking about, with the stuff they've been talking about with him and the smuggler that got him over. There was a big,
Yeah.
controversy.
I didn't even think about that.
Story, and
it's a true story.
and that was supposed to be part of the problems he was having down in Miami, and the whole thing.
Especially since he got that dude busted out, and that dude, you think this payback some form of fashion. He said he's got too much money anyway. It doesn't matter. He got too much money.
I ain't mad at Puig.
Yeah.
Puig living good. He got to talk crazy. That's part of the deal. But you don't want people just running in your house.
Yeah, he's in the He's playing the World Series. Somebody in his house.
And that's the last thing he needs to think of, because he got to figure out how to get the cheese. You know me. Yeah, but that's all we got, folks. This has been the Ozone for you. We're going to leave you with a quote about patience. Impatience is the root of all your problems. You cannot force life to give you answers. You must let them unfold before you. I'm your host, Omar Miller. Thanks for rocking with us. We'll see you soon on the Ozone.
Ozone.
I'm just living the dream. I'm in love with the lights.